Thanks, Don, for that introduction, and thank you for Resources Rising Stars for the invitation. I think it's one of the better conferences going around at the moment. I'm an unashamedly gold bull. I've just come back from North America where gold is, without a doubt, the flavour of the month. And I'll talk you through why that is today and why you should be investing in AuTECO. It's really important to understand. It's a very simple story, really. 4 things to remember. It's got scale and grade. It's got growth attached to it, as evidenced by a 500,000 ounce increase in our resource 2 weeks ago. It's got infrastructure, both above ground infrastructure and subsurface infrastructure. And finally, it's got people. I'm very fond of saying that projects don't ruin projects. People ruin projects. And so it's so important, and you would have heard a few presenters today talk about their people, and I can't emphasise enough how important it is that you're backing people to get increased in your resource or your share price. Obligatory disclaimer, apparently somewhere there it says do your own advice. I don't know why it took so many sentences to do so. So, the location, this is clearly a Tier 1 jurisdiction in Canada. But let me tell you, many people will tell you a Tier 1 jurisdiction, but practically speaking for me, it really is. So I get assay turnaround times in 18 to 21 days. Western Australia, it can be 8 to 10 weeks. Crews and rigs, easily accessible, good quality crews on those rigs. So that's really, really good. In a very good, prolific area in this Uchi sub-province in Ontario, where it's had an endowment of over 40 million ounces in its day. Don't forget, Canada is a recently explored area. It's not historical like some of the other places. We've got an asset which has a long history of producing gold. In its day, from 1935 to 1966, it produced 1.5 million ounces at a stunning 16 grams per tonne. It stopped producing in 66, not through a lack of mineralisation, but the gold price had hit $38 an ounce, so it became uneconomic. I mentioned before we have some infrastructure there. We've got a small mill there on site, but we've got 40 kilometres of underground infrastructure. And we've got growth, as evidenced 2 weeks ago when I increased the resource by 500,000 ounces. This company, since its inception in late January 2020, has given shareholders 80,000 ounces per month, every month since then. That's growth. That means we've got a good asset, great endowment. That's evidence of that scale and grade. Look at that. So not only do we have this new almost 3 million ounces of resource there, but we've got grade to go with it. I'm proud to say the only other company that I know of in this particular slide I've put together is Bellevue Gold, where I was the founding chairman, so I'm very proud of that. Importantly, this area is undergoing a lot of M&A activity. I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but coming back from North America just recently, where I had numerous meetings, where typically I would have 80% of my meetings would be investor-based, where you would have existing shareholders or new investors looking at our asset, and 20% of corporates and investment bankers, unfortunately. Now you're seeing 50% of those meetings that I took were with corporates. So with this high gold price, which is sustained at 2,000 US an ounce, there are people on the lookout, and we're right in the right space with a good grade and scale, as I mentioned before. And you can see that I'm not going to read them all out, but there's plenty of transactions to cast your eyes over to see how you can make a buck. Here's that growth that I talked about. Maiden resource in June, July 2020 of 800,000 ounces. We've steadily grown that, as you can see. That's not many companies that have done that, and that's real grade attached to that increase in resource. Importantly, which I'm going to take you through very shortly, is that the top 250 metres now has over 1 million ounces endowed in it. This is where we are. Look at our neighbours. It's for all to see. We're in a really, really Tier 1 jurisdiction here with world-class gold deposits. You would know that Great Bear's been taken over by Kinross, year and a half ago or something like that, at 1.5 billion US. They've come out with a resource just recently of 5 million ounces at 2.5 grams. Just remind you that we're 2.8 million ounces at 7 grams. This is where we are. Exceptional infrastructure. So we're 10 minutes drive from the township of Pickle Lake. We've got hydro running through our property. We have infrastructure in the base camp, which can look after 50 people. We had 5 rigs turning in its heyday. We're taking those rigs down at the moment. It's got historical production. Where there was gold, there surely is gold again. And of course, we have a processing plant, which is a little small, but we're looking at the optionality of doing something with that and our high-grade tailings. I talk about people. I mean, it's a great board. It does look like Bellevue's board, unashamedly though. And we've just recently, in January, put on Kevin Tomlinson. Kevin has a great history in narrow vein, high-grade quartz deposits. So it's great to have him just on board. Darren Cook from Northern Stars brought a real laser-like focus to the activities, but even down to, I shouldn't say down to, but Tabitha LeBlanc has just recently signed an advanced exploration permit with the Mishigogan, our First Nations group. 3 takeaways here. Your board of directors has skin in the game. We've got an exceptional institutional register and a good balance sheet of over $10 million. So we've got near mine growth. So over the next 6 months, what you'll see is a lot of news flow coming from our regional work that we're about to embark upon, as well as our growing the resource around the old headframe. So this is it. So those blue dots, that's the resource as it sits at the moment. The green stuff is historical. The red stuff is what's not included in the resource at the moment. Have a look at it. There's your growth right there. That's and that's all the near surface stuff. That's in the top 200 to 250 metres. Exceptionally exciting. And so here you see the red dot there, that's Pickle Crow. That's where you had the historical of 1.5 million ounces and our current 2.8 million ounces. The rest is 500 square kilometres of very prolific exploration activities. And as you can see there, those shear zones where they're highly mineralised that we've seen in the past. But what we're seeing is these fractures going across those shears, which are also mineralised. So expect to see news flow coming out of that regional discovery in the next few months. So what are we going to do in the next few months? We're going to fast track our regional exploration. First time we'll be able to get out there and explore some of that highly prospective areas. We're going to test the scale of this system. This is a real camp style deposit, I think. We'll also go for our near mine resource and increase that, and we'll look at other significant opportunities that we haven't really tested to date. So, in summary, great location, really is a Tier 1 jurisdiction for those reasons that I mentioned to you before. Practical reasons that I can put my hand around. Secondly, this asset has a long history of production and it'll do it again. Year-round access. So counterintuitively, probably for Australians, is winter is a better time to drill when it's frozen and the rigs can get stability down there. We've got exceptional upside. As you can see, that we've just increased our resource by 500,000 ounces in the last 2 weeks, and we expect to increase it again through that regional activity and near mine growth, along with doing some pit optimisation. And that'll probably be the next bit of news flow, is in that top 250 metres that I talked about, where we know we have over 1 million ounces. What we'll look at is optimising pits there, and what from those pits we can drive down to where we have that underground, 40 kilometres of underground infrastructure. Thank you for listening.